and a very warm welcome to this month's Pacecast. I'm Anita Pace and thank you for joining us. My guest today is a man whose name we're all very familiar with. He's the brains behind many, many plays. Plays such as Up and Under, Teachers, Bouncers, April in Paris. I could go on and on and on. He's also the artist, or was the artistic director of Hull Truck Theatre for 26 years. I am, of course, talking about the highly acclaimed award-winning playwright, John Godber. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
So I have asked you to bring in something meaningful to you, like I do with all our guests. So I can see, perched here on the sofa, two amazing accolades. Please tell me all about them.
Well, this one, feel like a Blue Peter. This one, Antiques Roadshow. This one is an Olivier Award, which I got for Up and Under in 1984, and I can. That's very significant. Obviously,
Can I?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah,
oh wow,
there you go.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's very heavy.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins gave me that.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, there's a story there, and then this one is one of Jane and I wrote a film which we shot in Ferriby in 2005 for the BBC Children's Department, and we got two each. So best.
And this is the BAFTA.
And that's a BAFTA.
Yeah.
2005. Yeah.
And
there's a story.
Gosh, another this good weight training.
Yeah.
Wow.
Story behind both of them.
Well, I'm no doubt going to hear all about those. So, thank you for bringing those in. Amazing. So let's talk about your early life then.
Okay.
So, what was John like as a boy?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm from a mining background.
And you're not born in Hull? Well, you weren't born in Hull,
no,
which actually I was surprised about. I always thought you were Hull born and bred.
No. Well, I often say most people go to London to seek their fortune, and I came to Hull. Hull played a kind of major part in my life, but I was born in a mining village in 1956. My dad was a miner, my mum was a kind of part-time dinner lady. I suppose significant. We were a very close family. It was a typical working class family, council house estate, Blackpool for our holidays every year. Not a lot of money.
Siblings?
One sister. Right. My sister worked in the Dole office for 40 years, so she was frontline DHSS, real life, as I called it. And the most significant part of my early childhood, I guess, was failing my 11 plus. So I remember going into the school hall and sitting down with a load of other kids, and only two kids failed. That was me and another lad. And my dad wasn't happy because all the other kids got racing bikes, because when you pass your 11 plus, generally you got a racing bike. Okay. And I got nothing. And I had to go to the secondary modern school, which was secondary and not very modern. And then fortunately for me, they'd just, in 1968, they opened a brand new comprehensive school. So at 12, I went into comprehensive education. So in a sense, comprehensive education saved me from being a car mechanic, or not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but it kind of...
It gave you a path.
It introduced me to drama.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody at that school had to do drama, art and music. Yeah. And I did drama, art and music. But at the same time, I was... I didn't think I'd be talking about this, but I was in my early teens. I was beaten up by the British light heavyweight boxing champion.
What?
In my own home.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a story I've never really kind of visited. But I was coming home from the cinema one night, and two lads were stood outside. Absolutely typical bog standard council house estate. And they said, "Are you John?" I said, "Yeah." And then they followed me into my mum and dad's house. Started to give me a good hiding. My dad was in bed, came downstairs, stopped the fight. We realised that my dad knew the lad's dad. The guy who was hitting me was black. And my dad had been a very, very close friend of the comedian Charlie Williams. If you remember Charlie Williams. Yes, who was a big influence on Lenny Henry.
Yes.
And so my dad then took me to this lad's house, and this lad's dad played rugby for Wakefield Trinity. And at that time, and this is all absolutely gospel, at that time, I was about 6'2" and I weighed about 4 stone. I was just so thin, couldn't put weight on. Gosh, obviously that's the case now. And my dad drove me to the lad's house, and then the lad said, "Why have you hit him?" And he said, "Whatever." And the fella said, his dad said, "Did you want to press charges?" And I said, no, because I won't always be, 7 stone,
Yeah.
So I went back home, my nose was all over the shop, he chipped a tooth. And then my dad said to me out of the blue, do you want to go and see your Uncle Eric? And I thought, well, what's my Uncle Eric going to do about it? So I thought my Uncle Eric was my dad's brother, So I went to see my dad's brother in the next next mining village. And my Uncle Eric had been a self-defence instructor with the SAS. I had no idea. So he took me into his garage, absolutely gospel truth, and he opened the doors, and it was like a scene from Harry Potter, and the garage was full of Gurkha swords.
Oh my God, where's this going?
And he'd literally taught people to slit people's throats.
What?
Yeah. And it said, there's a load of weights there. Do you want to take those weights? So I said, yes. And I started weightlifting. And the idea was, it was literally kicking sand in your face. It was that trope, So I started weightlifting at home, started to put a bit of weight on, discovered, weirdly, that Arnold Schwarzenegger had been influenced by a man called Reg Park, who lived a mile away from where I grew up, which kind of, the fusion of ideas was quite dizzying. And then about a month later, the lad who hit me, his dad killed him, and he died.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His dad killed him?
His dad killed him in a domestic event, and the post-mortem revealed he'd had a brain tumour, and he'd started amateur boxing at the age of 7. So
who'd had the brain tumour?
The lad who hit me.
Through the boxing?
Through the boxing. Yeah, that's why he hit me. Yeah.
Jeez.
But it was kind of like too late then, because I'd suddenly got this bodybuilding thing, and I'd gone literally from being about 7 stone to being about 13 stone, and I started playing football. I tried for Leeds United, and then I discovered rugby, which I was quite good at. So I tried for Yorkshire at rugby. But at the same time, I love doing plays.
So I was going to actually ask you about that, because you said about how you discovered drama at the comprehensive school. So was that in front, you liked performing, or it wasn't the idea of writing a play?
No,
it was more about performing then?
It was literally, we did lots of improvisation, and I guess I discovered that I was quite good at that and quite funny. So that became a kind of defence mechanism. And also because by this time, through the weightlifting, I'm getting bigger. So I'm a big lad in school who's funny.
Yeah. But you had a passion for sport as well. So drama and sport. So at what point did you decide to pursue the dramatic? Because you went into teaching, didn't you?
I did. At school, I'd got the play bug, and so I loved being in plays at school. And then I got a place at the Central School of Speech and Drama to be an actor. And I went to tell my mum and dad. I told my dad one night at parents' evening, at careers evening, and the careers guy said to me, "What do you want to do, John?" I said, well, to be absolutely honest with you, I'd like to be a doctor or an actor. And it was the first my dad had heard that I'd wanted to be a doctor or an actor. Yeah. And when we came out, don't forget my dad's, works at the pit.
Yeah.
He said, an actor? What are you talking about? I said, yeah, I won't mind being an actor, Dad.
And did he approve?
He didn't necessarily get it. He was very, very forward thinking and a fantastic dad, and understanding. My mum didn't get it. My mum just did not get what that was about. She said, well, why don't you be an history teacher? Because she liked reading Barbara Cartland novels.
Yes, yeah, I knew you were going to say Barbara Cartland.
Be an history teacher. I said, well, I don't want to be one, if that's what you want me to be. So when my dad's sister had gone to Leamington Spa because she thought it was by the sea, right? And she'd met a man there who became involved in education and had been to Cambridge. And so, well, why didn't John train to be a drama teacher? Because then you can,
combine the two.
Yeah, combine the two. Mm. There's a place nearby called Bretton Hall, near Wakefield. And I thought, ooh, crikey, being near home and all that. So I went to Bretton Hall, which is where the Yorkshire Sculpture Park is now. Fell in love with it. Got a place. Didn't have any A-levels at that time. But they accepted me on a teaching certificate to be a drama teacher. Stayed there for 4 years. Did another A-level while I was there. Then I went to, did my teaching qualifications, did a degree in education. Then I went to Leeds University, And I did a master's degree at Leeds University in drama. Again, I was the...
Still while you were teaching? Or was this part
No, this is before I start teaching. This is still as a student.
Okay, right.
Still as a student. So I go to Leeds University. That's when I kind of started writing a little bit. Then I had a place to do a PhD in drama at Leeds University. But I'd run out of money by then. And a job came up at my old school as a part-time drama teacher. So I went back to the school that I'd been to, Minthorpe High School, as a part-time drama teacher. And at that time, this is absolutely the truth, at that time a close friend of mine killed himself. So my life up until then had been littered. The lad who'd hit me, his father had killed him. My best friend, who was a judo expert, we'd played rugby together, he killed himself. And then another close friend of mine was involved in a car accident and became tetraplegic in a car accident.
Good grief.
And I think in order to come to terms with that, I wrote a play called Cramp, which was about a bodybuilder who took his own life. Now, during that time, there was a thing called the National Student Drama Festival, and in 1981, it was held at Hull University. So I entered this play with some students that I was teaching at the school that I was a part-time teacher at. And I was still doing the PhD part-time, so technically I qualified as a student. And we brought it to Hull, and we performed it in Staff House at the university.
Yeah.
And I met a fella called Anthony Minghella, who obviously went on to be an Oscar-winning film director, and a fella called Alan Brodie, who became my agent, and James Fenton, who was the Sunday Times theatre critic. And it was such a heady time.
So when was this? What was it?
1981.
Right.
1981. Okay. And I met a girl with ginger hair from Skipton, and she's been my wife for 42 years.
Jane?
Yeah. And
quite fortuitous that you went there then, really.
Well, that's why Hull played a really big part in my life.
Yeah.
So at the university, Anthony Minghella said, "Do you want to have a chat?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have a chat." He said, "You should be a writer." I said, "Oh, I know, but the money, blah blah blah." He said, "No, honestly, Johnny, you're a writer." And I was fortunate.
As opposed to a performer or a teacher.
Yeah. He said, "You're naturally a playwright." And Anthony was doing stuff on telly. He was doing a PhD at Hull. I was doing a PhD at Leeds. We got on very well. Lots of things in common. And then he said, "I'm going to put you forward to write Grange Hill."
Grange Hill?
Because he was the script editor on Grange Hill. So I went to London. My life with London has always been difficult. I had a nosebleed on the way down to the meeting. Literally. It was all over my shirt. I went into the children's drama department at the BBC covered in blood. It wasn't the most auspicious start for somebody.
Still remembered you there.
A children's writer. Sorry about the blood. So Anthony got me onto writing Grange Hill, so I did that for 3 years.
I didn't realise you wrote for Grange Hill.
Oh, yeah. Zammo and Roland.
God, I grew up watching Grange Hill.
Yeah.
Wow.
Grange Hill.
Iconic.
Yes. Yeah. Don't say no to drugs. Yeah, I did all that. And then Anthony again introduced me to a man called Phil Redmond.
Yes. Well, he's been in the press recently because of the Brookside and Hollyoaks.
Exactly.
Combination, isn't it?
And then Phil asked me to write Brookside.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So me and Jimmy McGovern.
Loved Brookside.
Yeah, so I did the first 2 years at Brookside.
Wow.
When I was living on Riverview Avenue.
Right.
So I'd gone from writing Grange Hill, which is great, still teaching.
But these aren't plays. These are TV.
I've only written one play by this time.
Right.
I've only written one play. But I went into writing television on the strength of Anthony's recommendation. Met Phil. Phil said, "Do you want to come and write this thing?" I said, "Yeah, fantastic." There were only 4 writers at the time. And then in 1982, I wrote a play for Jane and a mate of mine, and we brought it back to Hull, to the university. The second year, 1982, was another year of the Drama Festival. And I met Mike Bradwell, who set up Hull Truck. And we were in the union at the University of Hull, and Mike said, "Tell me a joke." And I told him a joke, can't repeat it. Told him a joke. And then I got a phone call because I was still living with my mum and dad back in Upton. And it had come from Hull Truck saying, "Would you like to apply for the job to run Hull Truck?" Now, unfortunately, and kind of ironically, I'd never heard of Hull Truck because obviously over in West Yorkshire, we were into Leeds Playhouse and all that. So I said, yeah, sounds great. So I came for an interview, and the man in the interview before me was a man called Danny Boyle.
Oh, wow. God, how many names can you drop into this Pacecast?
And I always say Danny pulled the short straw. He went to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I came to Hull. And that was my journey to come to run Hull Truck.
Wow. And that would have been, well, how many years ago are we talking now?
That was 1983. I did the interview.
Right.
And I joined in 1984. And at the first meeting of the board, the accountant told us that the company was insolvent and we should cease trading. And they looked at me and said, John, what are you going to do? Well, I was doing a PhD on the work of John McKendrick and the influence of German expressionist theatre. And my initial thought was to say, I'm going to do a season of German plays. However, I said, I'm going to write a play about rugby league.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And they said, oh, you were going to write it then. So I went to St Mary's Lighthouse in Whitley Bay stayed in the caravan. 4 days later, I'd written up an under.
So tell me about this then. So you have an idea to write a play about rugby league.
Yeah.
You go and hide away in a caravan. Yeah. Tell me about the process, the thought process of what comes first? Do you think it's going to be about a particular subject, rugby league, and then what happens?
Again, and not name dropping, but Alan Plater was on the board that gave me the job.
Yeah.
And Don Roy. And Alan had got lots and lots of experience. And I remember having a conversation with Alan, and he said Arthur Miller had told him that all plays are dreams. Right? And in a weird way, you have to dream the play before you can write the play. So I came along to the board. I said, I'm going to write a play about rugby league. And they said, okay, go and do it. And then I'd got to fulfill that brief. So I thought, God, how am I going to write a play about rugby league?
But why rugby league, though?
Well, because of Hull.
Because
nobody was going to the theatre at that
but people
time.
were going to rugby league.
Oh, yeah. It was massive.
Yeah,
It was 1984. All FC were doing well. The rivalry was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'd played a lot of rugby, but I'd actually played rugby league at secondary modern school, but I'd played rugby union at university.
So you were interested in it?
So I was interested in sport. Where I'm from, this place, a little village called Upton, they've got a fantastic rugby league team.
Right.
I used to go watch them. I knew a lot of the lads that played. Living in Ferriby, Knocker Norton lived in Ferriby, used to go to the Duke. I live around the corner from Fred Okoye and James Luluwai, and they played for Hull FC.
Yeah.
So
there's no avoiding it.
Well, you couldn't avoid it. If you wanted to make theatre popular in Hull, to me, that you either did a play about fishing, which had kind of been done, or you tried to write a play about rugby league. But the difference with my play, and actually I'm missing a piece of the jigsaw because my MA thesis was on David Storey, a Wakefield-born writer who wrote This Sporting Life.
Right.
So I was already, tuned into the rugby league. Thing, if you like. So the challenge was, we looked at the budget, and again, you talk about business, this is what we did first of all. How much could we afford? Well, we couldn't afford a team of 13, couldn't get them on stage for a start, but we could afford a cast of 6. So we couldn't even do a 7-a-side team. So I said, okay, what we'll do, we'll have somebody who never turns up. So I wrote into the narratives 2 people who never turned up, so we could have a cast of 8. Well,
a cast of 6.
But they could play 8 potentially. Yeah. And then Barry Nettleton, who was the administrator, said, "How are we going to audition?" I said, "No, I'll make 6 phone calls." And I rang 6 mates, one of whom now produces Peppa Pig all over the world.
Oh wow!
One is a fellow called Richard Ridings, who is the voice of Peppa Pig, whose daughter is a famous singer. What's she called? It's gone, but she's does Glastonbury and all this kind of stuff. One of them was do you remember the tango advert? The first tango
You've
advert?
Been Tangoed.
Yeah, the little orange tango man.
Yes.
Right, the one was the little orange tango man. He was a mate of mine who was a judo expert.
So this is the cast?
This is the cast. Yeah, this is the cast. One is the lad I taught at school, who then went into doctors for 20 years, played the policeman. And the other one was Jane, who was at that time my girlfriend.
Oh, right, so you weren't married yet?
We weren't married then. No, we got married in Ferriby Church 12 years later. And we did this play, Up and Under. This is the absolutely gospel truth. We're opening the play at the Edinburgh Festival. So we've got a dress rehearsal. But unfortunately, do you remember Bins?
Yeah, the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the actors, shan't say who, was arrested for stealing mincemeat from Bins, right?
Did Bins sell mincemeat?
Yes, they had a food counter, right?
Gosh. Bins is the former Hammonds of...
Yeah. Well, downstairs they had a food counter. Right. Yeah. And he claimed, he's a nice guy. He was caught. Anyway, I get to the theatre, about to do a dress rehearsal. He's not available because he's in Queen's Gardens, Nick. So we have to get him out of there. So look, it's been a massive mistake, but we're going to the Edinburgh Festival. So the police say, okay, fair enough, they let him out. We drive to Edinburgh. We don't have a dress rehearsal. So we've never been through the play. And on the first afternoon, there's 342 people in the audience. I'm sat backstage, and the play starts, and people start laughing. Now,
was it written as a comedy?
Well, that's the question. The question is, I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was amusing, but I didn't think it was that funny. You know, and as the play progressed, the cast were coming off and saying, "What shall we do? Shall we stop?" I said, "No, keep going, see what happens."
Because they were surprised people were laughing.
Yeah, they're absolutely. What is funny about this? You know, and a part of it, we play rugby on stage, and they played both teams. And at the end, there was a very, very warm response. People saying, "Oh, wonderful," and then we get invited to go to the Donmar Warehouse, and that's where the Olivier committee came to see it, and we'd then get a phone call saying, "You've been nominated. I've only been in the job 6 months. You've been nominated for a Laurence Olivier Award for Best Comedy." And I thought, well, that's quite extraordinary, because in my head,
it wasn't a comedy.
So I go down, and Jane and I are sat behind Andrew Lloyd Webber and Ian McKellen, and they're looking at us like,
"Who are you?
Who are we?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Hopkins comes on stage. And I think, oh, well, no chance of me winning, because it just doesn't feel right. And he said, and the winner is Up and Under. And I just like, oh, my word. So I go on stage, and there's 2,500 people at Drury Lane. He gives me this award. And I go, wow, crikey, blimey. And I talk about the theatre. This, you can see this on YouTube. It's How Not to Receive an Award.
I'll have to look at that, yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins walks off, and I turn around and I go, this to Jane. And then I don't know where he's gone. So I walk into the wings, and I see a fire exit, and I go out the fire exit. And I'm stood in the street.
With your award?
With my award. And a dicky bow saying to somebody, "You've not seen Anthony Hopkins, have you?" so then I say, "Oh, I'll give my mum a ring. I'll ring my mum and tell her, that I've won this award."
Yeah.
So it's before mobile phones and stuff, so I'm getting my coins out and putting it
in the phone box.
Yeah, and I ring my mum, and I said, "Mum, you'll never guess what? I've won Comedy of the Year, the Laurence Olivier Award." And without a drop in a stitch, my mum just said, "It's foggy here." And I thought, fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm sure she went on to appreciate your achievement.
Well, I don't know. She was a character, but yeah, and in a way, puncturing my bubble has kept me grounded.
Yeah, you seem like you're a very grounded person. But to win that so early on in your career, I hadn't appreciated you had that success so early on in your career. So where do you go from there then?
Well, interestingly, the next year, 1985, we were nominated again for Bouncers. Thankfully, we didn't win, and I mean that in all honesty, because I think once you've written a play that you don't think is a comedy, but other people think is a comedy, you've got to kind of unstitch that a little bit.
Yeah.
And Bouncers, again, whilst people think it's funny, it's actually very, very bleak as a play,
Yeah.
And then I get nominated again in 1991 for On the Piece, which is definitely a comedy. And I get nominated again in 1993 for April in Paris, which I wrote about a North Sea ferry trip, which again was a comedy. So ironically, the plays that I wrote as comedies, I didn't win, but the play that I wrote not as a comedy, I won.
Yeah.
So, but you're
known for observational comedies, though. That's your thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, they've got to be plays first before they can be funny. I'm personally not a real fan of out-and-out comedies, because I think there's no gristle, there's no meat and veg. They're funny and what? And I think sometimes my best work is funny and it's got something to say. The really, really quality work is funny and painful, because I think that's what life is.
Painful what, to write, or painful?
No, painful to watch, because it investigates emotional things that you think, is that really funny? Alan Ayckbourn's got a nice quote, and he says, you know, people laugh in the theatre, but when they get out of the theatre, they wonder what they've been laughing at. And I think also that's part of the teacher in me, that if you know, I always wanted to make my lessons entertaining, so the kids would, you know, hopefully open up and be receptive. And, of course. Yeah. So you know, you don't want to go in with a sledgehammer making a point. Strangely, as I've got older, I think my kids say, "Dad, you easy on the politics," you know, and I think I've got more political as I've got older. Really.
So you've written so many plays and had so much success. What's your favourite play that you've written, would you say? And you've probably been asked that 100 times.
Well, the favourites to me are the ones that are about my family.
Right.
Like the early plays, like September in the Rain, I wrote about my grandparents, and they only ever went to Blackpool once a year.
Did they see the play?
Oh no. Well, my granddad was a miner, and I remember my granddad saying, shortly before he died, he was watching the telly, and he said, "One day our lad's name will be on telly." And I thought, what are you talking about? And then when I was doing drama, my granddad said to me, "What are you doing this drama for? Why don't you be a prison warden?"
Interesting.
And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, you're big and you get a pension."
Yeah.
And you know, there was a lot of sense in that. You know, I think there's a lot of Western theatre critics wish I'd been a prison warden, to be honest. But it's interesting now, as you know, I'm coming up 70, to look back at. I mean, coming to Hull changed my life. Yeah, absolutely changed my life
on a personal level and professional level.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. You know, coming to Hull, I met Jane. Jane had worked in Hull on some other projects. I'd actually come to Hull on a rugby tour, played at behind the Silver Cod, slit my eye open, ended up in Hull Royal Infirmary. Cut to 20 years later, I have a blood clot, and the Hull Royal Infirmary saved my life. My kids are both born, one at Castle Hill and one at Beverley Westwood. Yeah. So the audiences here have been very kind to me, and I guess that's why.
But they relate to your humour.
I suppose. But there was every chance they wouldn't. I mean, I know there's a tension between. I'm a Westie, from West Yorkshire, and I was asked to be, before City of Culture, I was asked to be chairman of the tourist board. I don't know if you're aware of that, and set up the readers and all that kind of thing. And I went to Gary Verity, and he was then head of, Yorkshire Tourism, whatever it was. Yeah. And I said, "We're going to set up a thing, Gary, called the Real Yorkshire Awards." And he went blue. He said, "How can you call that Real Yorkshire when it's no more Real Yorkshire than us?" I said, "Well, speaking as a West Yorkshireman to a West Yorkshireman who now lives in East Yorkshire, that's what we're going to call the awards." Eventually, we had to water it down. And it's
the Real East Yorkshire Tourism Awards.
That's
now,
right.
Isn't it? It's East Yorkshire as opposed to Yorkshire. Yeah.
But the tension. I mean, you in business, the tension. I think sometimes people think Yorkshire ends at Goole. And we felt that a lot when we
those who are west looking east. You mean? Yes, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm from a mining village. When I came to Ferriby, I honestly thought I'd landed on heaven. There's a river, there's the bridge, there's the big skies. There's a pub that does decent food. The office. Do you remember the office?
The office
before the Silver Trees. Yeah,
my God, yes. We are going back a long time.
A long time, yeah. I've been around a long time. Yeah. And actually, I guess I've imbibed a lot of, and now I won't live anywhere else. I mean, I love it.
Well, the region's adopted you.
And that's been really, really nice.
Yes,
that's really nice.
I think people think of you as being a Hull boy.
Well, I guess I'm an honorary.
Yes, I think so.
And my kids are Hull through and through. I mean, you say anything negative about it, and they'll go for you.
Yeah. Proud,
yeah.
And I'm sure they're very proud of what you've achieved. So going back to your actual work, then, you said you your favourite work or the stuff you're most proud of is the stuff that relates to the family. But I'm still intrigued about how you come up with the ideas. So it is through observation and just day-to-day life, is it?
Yeah, it is. Funnily enough, I'm working on one at the moment and I just can't get it right.
Tell us more about that. That's interesting. Hot off the press.
Yeah. Recently, 2 years ago, and again, it seems to be that out of adversity comes an idea. I've just lost my dad.
Oh, I'm sorry
last year, it was 93, and I cared for him. So I was going over to Pontefract every day for 2 years. Me and my sister cared for him. And on one occasion, he had sepsis, and he was admitted to Pinderfields. And I went along, and I stayed with him on the geriatric ward. And for some reason, an idea came into my head about Northern Soul. Right. Now, I'm a massive Northern Soul fan.
Right. This is while you were in the hospital?
In the hospital, yeah. Why? I've no idea, okay? So I think, I could, I've never touched that. I've never really, all through, the early 70s, I went into Northern Soul music and the dancing and all that. So I wrote this play called Do I Love You, which I wrote it 3 years ago, and we've toured it. We brought it to Truk, did very well. We toured it all over. We're taking it into London in the new year. Then we're taking it to Dublin, and everywhere we went, it was sold out. So that play came out of real adversity of looking after my dad and then losing my dad. So I'm thinking about one at the moment, and it's kind of like as I said about the Arthur Miller reference, you have to dream the entire play. Now, the Northern Soul play, because I was a Northern Soul fan, blah, 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 blah. And this one I'm working on, I kind of think, because I've written so much, I think I'm ploughing the same. Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, do you feel like you're repeating something?
Yeah, and that's, now, and so Martha, my youngest daughter, she's moved to London and she's trying to make it as an actor and she's just written something, etc. Liz, our eldest daughter, who more or less runs the company now, she lives in Beverley. She went to Hull University, went to Leeds University, came back to Hull to do a PhD in obscure poetry, decided after 4 years to knock it on the head and said, Dad, I want to work in the company. So I'm surrounded, and of course Jane, I'm surrounded by women who are not backwards in coming forwards about telling you whether the idea is good, bad or indifferent. So now I'm in a situation where I go to Liz in particular and say, I've got this idea. No, won't work. Okay, all right. So I'll come back. It's like going to the teacher with your own work. Yeah. What about this idea, miss?
Yeah.
You don't like that. Okay, fair enough. And that's interesting because now I don't run a theatre, and the stresses of running a physical building are phenomenal. And all I have to do is think of a play. And in a weird way, because I'm only on that one task, I'm getting a bit kind of bogged down with the one task. And I think because when I was running Old Truk, we were doing the new development, we were doing
I was going to ask
all
about
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of freed up the creative part of my brain.
So it came more naturally rather than forced.
Exactly.
And that might be the issue now.
Yeah. Now all I do is, I walk about being a playwright.
Yeah. Going back to you just mentioned it then, the development. So Hull Truk is now a much bigger physical building, and you were instrumental in that, weren't you? The investment and so talk a bit about that. Because you saved it. It was in dire straits.
It was, and I had a fantastic time at Hull Truk, 26 years somewhere. I left because I didn't think the board were right to a mate of mine.
Oh, right, okay.
That's why I left. They'd made Gareth redundant. I'd just lost my mum, and I thought, I need to be seen as a mate to support my mate who they've decided to let go. Now, again, I've never really spoken about this. During 24 years at Hull Truk, I never took a salary.
Oh, right.
So I never got paid. I never had a contract. So I did when I started. I had a 3-year contract, and then that changed my life.
Yeah.
So I have a play in the West End.
We're just pointing at the Olivier Award for people listening. Yes.
So I have a play in the West End for 2 years.
Yeah.
So when I come to Hull Truk, my salary a year was £5,000. And with a show in the West End, I was probably earning that a week.
Yeah.
And then it goes to America, it goes to Australia, amateurs do it, bouncers happens. And so I'm in a position, I suppose, whereby I'm able to work for Hull Truck, and they do my plays. I never charged for writing them. Teachers, I charged £100, but I was getting the royalties.
Yeah.
So the royalties were coming in from...
And building your brand as well.
And building the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm building the brand.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to leave. I had a fantastic time. But as we moved towards we had to raise a lot of money. Originally, the first design at Truck was £5 million. 8 years later, the build was £15 million. And once we got into the new venue, members of the board, some of them had a bit of a personality transplant. And I can understand that looking back. And the Arts Council said to me, John, it would be better if you were the artistic director and the chief executive. And I said, I can't. Honestly, I can't. I feel like I've brought it to here. I just lost my mum. I think I'm better off just being a kind of... I kind of never wanted to be a member of a club that would have me as a member, if that makes sense. I know I'd fronted it up and helped raise the money, as had a lot of other people, but I didn't want to be the single contact point. If things went down, it was on me. You know, chief executive and artistic director. It wasn't something I felt comfortable. And so various things happened. The board decided to get rid of Gareth. They wanted to bring in a chief executive. So I said, well, listen, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to set my own company up. And they said, well, what you're going to work? What's your notice? I said, no contract. I'm going, mate.
Yeah.
I've gone.
Yeah.
I've gone.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid the man they employed misunderstood that he thought that Hull Truck had the rights to all my plays. And I've got the rights to all my plays because they didn't commission any of the plays. And in any case, theatres commission plays, but you only commission them for a certain time.
Yeah.
And Jane had got a job. And to be honest, absolutely frank with you, it was like a bereavement leaving Hull Truck, you know, after 26 years. And I didn't know what was going to happen. We live locally. There were just me and Jane, and Ma had gone to LIPA, to drama school. Liz was at university. And so the first couple of years were like, oh my word. And then over time, we started touring. And then in the last 2 or 3 years, as I said, Liz runs the company. She's local. She's had a lifetime seeing how theatre works. And we're doing better than we've ever done. So
did you write any play in that time of, to use your word, bereavement, let's say, in those couple of years afterwards? Did you write anything in that period? Or
yeah,
did you find it hard?
No, right. I did, yeah. The first play I wrote was a play called Debt Collectors, which we brought back to Hull, and we still got to Hull. And we've got a very nice relationship. Yeah. You know, the clientele, the people change. And listen, you know, Jane talks about, and we've had some conversations with people like Paul Sewell and the City Council of maybe taking over a pub theatre and making a pub theatre, but it's the capital cost that kills you. Yeah, you know. So you've got to have big numbers in there every night for bums on seats to pay your staff. Yeah, and now there's basically me, Jane, Liz, and Ma. And we are a company. So
talk to us about, so what is the company? It's a production company.
It is a production company, and it's called John Godber Company. Yeah. During COVID, and we tour 2 shows a year, but we don't have any overheads. Yeah. So, you know, we're able to open shows, mostly any theatre. We open at Shakespeare North, we open a show in Harrogate Theatre Royal, we open a show in Wakefield, we'll open a show at the Stephen Joseph, we'll open a show at Stoke New Vic Theatre. We're taking a show to Bath Theatre Royal. So we're able to cherry pick now, because of the brand is getting stronger, where we can bespoke shows. Yeah. And because I write, and Jane writes, and Liz writes, and Mars started to write, and Jane's a very good director. And we have we have production manager, we have education people, we have assistant stage managers. So Martha set up a foundation during COVID, where do you know Andrew Lincoln?
Oh, the actor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he's the patron.
Oh, right.
Did you know that he lived in Cottingham for some time?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little story about that.
Oh, go on then. Yeah.
Well, we're doing a show called Scary Bikers in London.
You are, or you were?
We were, me and Jane, yeah. Which is about Brexit, and we're doing it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a comedy, and we're doing it in a studio.
I bet it's a comedy.
Yeah, we're doing a studio theatre, and at the intervals, the stage manager comes back and says, "Oh, Stephen Mangum's in tonight," the actor, with a friend of his, Andrew Lincoln. To which Jane utterly freaks out. She's
in a positive way.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
She's a massive. The Walking Dead.
Is that what? Yeah, those have been
massive Walking Dead fan.
Yeah.
She goes to bits. Right. I can't go on. I can't go for the second half. I said, well, who is he? I don't watch it. Who is he?
Yeah.
So we do the play, and we go to meet him. And he's a lovely, lovely guy. Can't understand why Jane finds him so attractive personally, but that's just me. And we get in contact with him, and he said, weirdly, I spent 4 or 5 years living in Cottingham.
Why?
Because his family, I think his family moved here and then they moved somewhere else, something like that, right? I then discover he's married Jethro Tull's daughter.
Didn't know that.
Jethro Tull's a rock band from the...
yes,
right?
yeah.
Let me bring you songs from the wood and all this Aqualung and all that. Anyway, during COVID, Ma says, I think we should... I'd really like to help Dad, local students who are drama students, because it's so difficult for him. And I said, well, shall we ask Andrew Lincoln if he'll be patron? And so we asked Andrew Lincoln if he'll be patron, and he donates some of money, which was lovely. Other people also have. So Martha set up this foundation. In the first year, there were 20 students. And all the students are born in Hull and East Yorkshire. And we discovered that some of them, when they're at university, were doing essays on their phones. They didn't have computers.
Oh, I see, right.
So we financed some of for them to get computers.
Yeah.
We've supported some of them to get jobs in the West End. We've given some of them jobs. Ma's just done a Zoom with a friend of hers called Jack Malone, who won a Tony Award a couple of months ago for a show in Broadway, who she knows. So we've got about 20 students. Now, you can't come to Hull University and say, I'm from here. You've physically got to be born in, like my kids were born in.
Yeah.
And it's very active. So we've got costumiers who've gone on to work. We've got people who are actors. We've got some people who are writers. We've got some people who were born in East Hull who are literally stage managing shows. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to formalise our relationship with young people. I mean, you've got to be good to get on it. There's lots of people apply to get on it, and we just think, listen, you've got to be good. There's one lad, Prince. He went to Arches. He's just been in a show with Kit Harington on the West End. He's gone into another show. Emilio had done several of my. These people are good. They're really, really good. So we're very proud of that. That foundation. Because to me, I think because coming here changed my life, you want
to give something back?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds corny, but it's kind of genuine.
And is there still an interest from the younger generation in drama and performing as a profession?
It's a good question. I mean, as you're aware, drama in school is being bleached out.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely minimised. Not in private school. You go to private school, you can do it till you're blue in the face. It's an add-on. And next year we're going to tour teachers again. And we're touring it again because we're aware of the perilous state of the arts, not just drama, but drama, art and music in state education. So we want to kind of shine a light on that. Even before City of Culture, I always thought there was a real groundswell of talent here. Liz has just done a thing in Hull at the Arry, at the new studio. I don't know if you've been to see it, but there's a performance arts space just up. But you know where the Case building is.
Yeah.
There's like an artist thing there. Yeah. Liz has got a thing in there. And at the opening night, she said, I think there'll be about 7 people there. There was about 150 people turned up.
That's good.
There is a real appetite for expression, for performance, for the spoken word. And I think quite often we get, whether it's geographic or whether or not people have got a blind spot, we do still, I think, get minimised for other cities.
I think you and your success has helped elevate this area's
that's
reputation,
nice to hear
though.
that. Yeah,
I think it
nice to hear
has,
that.
yeah, for sure. You mentioned Jane was a bit starstruck when she met Andrew Lincoln. I'm going to ask you the same question. So you've met God knows how many famous performers.
I can tell you in one.
Go on then.
Sean Connery.
Oh, right, yeah, well.
Yeah, Sean Connery.
The best James Bond there was,
Sean
in my
Connery.
opinion.
I sent him a copy of Bouncers.
Did you?
Right, for a film, because I wanted to make a film of it. This is 20 years ago. Never heard a word at all. And Jane and I thrown it down at the Edinburgh Festival, and she said, "Do you want to go and see the Korean ballet?" And I kind of went, "Oh, do I look like I want to go see the Korean ballet?" Anyway, so we go see the Korean ballet. And as I'm edging along a seat, I realise, oh my goodness, I'm sat at the side of Sean Connery.
Oh, you sat next to him?
Sat next to him at the Korean ballet, right? And I've just sent him a screenplay of Bouncers. And so through the first act,
you just sat there thinking, how am I going to bring
exactly
it over
that, exactly that. And at the interval, I turned to him and I kind of go, ha, ha, ha. And I couldn't make my mouth work. I just coming out with absolute drivel to Sean Connery. Because as I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, this is Indiana Jones's dad. You know. And eventually I said, look, my name's John Godber, and I sent you a screenplay. And he said, oh, yes, I remember that. And to cut a long story short, he liked the screenplay, but he didn't want me to be involved with it.
Oh.
So I'm afraid I had to say...
No, you said no to Sean Connery.
I said no to Sean Connery, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've said no to too many people.
Yeah.
National Theatre 3 times I said no to.
And why?
Because it was 1988 and 1991 and 92, because of my commitment to Hull Truck.
Ah.
I didn't want to go work there because I felt I'd be being unloyal, disloyal to the company, really.
I just want to pick up on pick up on something you said a little earlier. So you decided that you're going to put teachers back on the road. So I'm interested in that. How do you decide which of your plays, some of them go back many years, and you then want to I don't know what the word is, but revive them maybe, put them out there again. How do you decide when and which?
Well, there's a kind of model, and the model is basically, if you go out February, you could probably get a tour till about June, right? Now, touring's getting more difficult. Yeah. And then if you go out September, that's a shorter season. You go out September, possibly just before Panto starts.
Right.
So quite by accident, and I guess this is what built Hull Truck into the powerhouse it became. When I first came, the first Up and Under, we looked at what the budget was, and I wrote a play to that budget. Lots of people wouldn't have been able to do that, and of course there are downsides to that. So over time, I wrote plays which were cost effective. Now, Teachers is cost effective because there's only 3 in it, although you've got to tour it, so you've got other people, So it is a business. So you look at what the costs are, you look at where the tour can go to, you look at whether or not you can cover your costs, because costs, actors used to cost £90 a week. Actors now cost you £1,000 a week. And that's absolutely right and proper, because they need to have subsidy and subsidence, and where they're able to get good digs and so on and so forth. So your actors' costs go up. So you're mindful all the time to keep the production costs as high standard as high as they possibly can be, but keep your costs as low as they can be. And then Liz, who books all the tours, Liz will go. It's kind of like payment by results. So this week, today, we're on in Keswick. Now we haven't been with my show, which has just been on at Hull Truck, Black Tie. Yeah. And it's very, very busy. So it's likely that Keswick will ask us to go back. If you go to Keswick and nobody comes, they're less likely to ask you to go back.
With that performance.
With that play.
Yeah, yeah.
So you constantly, doesn't matter how many of these you've got, you're constantly only as good as the market response to your work.
What's been the most successful play?
Financially?
Financially and popularity.
Bouncers.
Oh, really?
Bouncers, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bouncers, we did Bouncers at Truck every year for 26 years.
Did you?
Yeah, every year for 26 years. And on the final occasion, I hope people don't mind me sharing this. It doesn't matter anyway. In an hour, we took 55,000 quid.
Wow.
Now, that's Bruce Springsteen territory.
Yeah.
That was the fact that that audience had absolutely connected with that play.
Yeah.
So what we've done now is nobody else can do bouncers. You know, if other companies want to, amateurs can.
Yeah.
But if Leeds Playhouse want to do bouncers, no, you can't do it. Liverpool Playhouse, no.
Is it still playing anywhere?
No. So we don't let anybody do it.
Right. But you're not planning to put it out again?
In 2 years' time.
Oh, 2 years, right.
In 2 years' time, we're going to do bouncers again. Because it will be 50 years old.
50 years?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that makes me feel very old.
And me.
So, on the subject of age, I'm interested, if you think back over your successful career and your childhood, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Wow. Well, here's one for you. I was asked to be in the Full Monty.
Yeah.
And I turned it down and recommended Mark Addy.
Oh, right, okay.
And Mark's a mate.
Yeah.
That might have been life-changing,
Yeah.
doing the Full Monty.
Is it a regret then that you didn't?
To some degree. I don't fly. I'm frightened of flying.
Oh, yeah?
So I've turned down working with Mel Gibson.
Oh, my
And
God.
that's probably a mistake.
Why have you never addressed that, the fear of flying?
I've been on a fear of flying course. It scared me to death. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I just, honestly, I am the Dennis Burkamp of theatre. If I could get there on a train, I'll go on a train. I can't.
You must have missed so many opportunities.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, working in LA. I'm almost like a kind of, the Nearly man. I got offered Bouncers had been a massive hit in LA in 1988. So I got offered to work with Richard Dreyfuss and Amy Irving when she was married to Spielberg. And on both occasions I said no, and I did a play about the docks at Old Truck instead. And I can't help it. And also, actually, to be absolutely frank, my parents were ill for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, I was close to my parents.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth the heartache of leaving, and in case there was a problem. So, yeah.
Yeah. You missed out on all those fantastic just holidays as well, though.
Yeah.
Although
I can't, blimey. I mean, my hobby became my job.
Yeah.
Which
is a fantastic thing.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
I'm still doing the job.
Yeah.
People are still doing my plays. And I still feel, creatively engaged in it. So,
Best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received was from a tutor who was working with a playwright, and I said to the playwright, "How do you become a playwright?" And the tutor said, "Don't tell him." So I had to find out myself.
I was going to ask you if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? But I'm guessing it might be the flying thing, or maybe something else.
Yeah, I if I could change one thing about myself, I think it would have been to listen to other people earlier in my career.
Say a bit more.
Well, because writing is such a solo experience, sometimes I haven't been the best person at taking advice, just because you feel very, very exposed when when you show work to other people. And I think now, and in particular now we've got the company and we've got 3 very, very strong individuals. I think I should have listened to them earlier on in my life. Now I'm realising I am not the font of all knowledge. I'm just I'm on a journey like everybody else.
It's interesting because you said that Liz, your daughter, she'll say that it's a bad idea. Did you not have that counsel earlier on in your career then? So if you had an idea, you just ran with it? Because,
just ran with it.
But it's worked very well for you.
It has. It's kind of, is it the 3-second thing where something falls on the floor and if you can pick it up, and quite often actually, you say, I'm going to do it. Because if I'd have said, I'm going to write a play about 4 nightclub bouncers, I've just stood outside and said, it'll never work.
Yeah. Do you not worry that might still be the case, though? You've got a gem of an idea and it's not getting to...
Yes. So there's, and the plus of having a family business is it's great. You don't have to have board meetings. The negative is you go out like we were last night in Carluccio's and we're arguing about the business.
Yeah. It's no escape.
No escape. Yeah.
All right. So we do have to wrap it up. I mean, it's been fascinating. I could sit here all day talking to you because I find it so interesting. But what about, the John for the next few years? So you said you've got an idea at the moment which you're struggling with. So are you moving on from that idea? Are you going to just plug away at this idea? What's next?
I've got to. I'm like a dog with a bone. I've got to sort this idea out.
Right. Okay.
But we're planning. Can
you give us a clue?
Yeah, I'm actually. I am fascinated by class.
Right.
Really, by what does social mobility actually mean?
Okay.
And who do we leave behind?
Yeah.
And why are we leaving them behind? And educational opportunities, and also I think we're moving. I think the theatre is moving into a territory now where the ticket prices. I mean, Jane went to see Cabaret and she paid £325 for a ticket. Wow. That used to be a week in Benidorm. And with stuffing more and more film stars in plays. And I think, and the demise of theatre and drama and art and music in school, if we're not careful, it will become a posh kids' activity.
It's unattainable.
Yeah. And I'm really keen on that. So I'm really keen to continue to make work that bridges those who like theatre and those people who think theatre's not for them.
Yeah.
So these ideas straddle both kind of philosophies. Yeah.
Big subject.
Yeah. Well, I think you need big subjects.
Yeah. And make sure it's still accessible for all.
Yeah. Of course.
Because we've all had so much enjoyment and pleasure from everything you've done.
No, it's very kind of you.
Thank you. And thank you for. I wouldn't dare speak on behalf of everybody, but like I said earlier, I think what you've achieved and the success you've had has really helped this region. It's definitely helped the arts and culture in this region, and you're a very fondly adopted member of the East Yorkshire community.
Listen, I'm absolutely accept that with an open heart. I love it here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for coming in this morning, John. I've really enjoyed talking to you. So before you can go, you have to answer a question that was left by our previous guest.
Right.
He didn't know who was coming in, but the guest that asked this question: what brings you peace?
Oh, good question. Yeah, space.
Gives you time to think.
Yeah. Space. And a lot of classical music.
Oh, right. Classical music. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It gives me peace.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you for answering that. And again, thank you for coming in. I've enjoyed our chat.
Pleasure.
Right. That's it for this month. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you do have any suggestions for who you'd like to hear or see on the podcast, please do let us know. And until next month, it's bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.